All right, so Jake, you've been in the business now for a couple of years, and among many other things, you have participated in hosting and producing podcasts. So I think you understand the significance of number 400. So very nice to have you here. How you living, son? How are things?
I'm living great, pimp. And I'm really honored to be here for the 400. I know this is a big deal, not only for me, but for you. It's a huge milestone. So congrats on that first and foremost.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. And I know you do understand. So why don't we do this? Let's go way back and start from the very beginning. Before you bring us up to date, let's go back. Like, you grew up in the bubble of Orange County, Irvine to be exact. What was that like? And what was your childhood like?
I couldn't have had a better childhood, honestly. And I think to your credit, you being Jim Rome and being on ESPN and on all these shows, you wouldn't know that if you met Logan and I. And, we went to public schools. We grew up in a really safe area. It was about as idyllic of a childhood as you could have had, in the circumstances. And to your credit too, I mean, you spent all of your time with us. You came to our little league games and all that. So I really have no complaints, and I don't think it could have been any better than it was.
All right, so it's really funny because you say that Logan, and we'll talk about Logan in a minute. Logan said to me one day not long ago, he's like, now, when I do this, I'm going to do this a little bit differently than you did this. And I respect that, Logs, because I did that a little bit differently than my dad did that. But that was Logs. Listen, I'm going to jump into something very real with you right off the top. And I want to ask you this. I was always concerned that because you grew up in the big house on the hill, you might not necessarily develop that grit necessary to navigate what I knew was going to be a very challenging world that awaited you. So when I tried to discipline you, Mom would say, I don't want the kids to resent you. And I would say, neither do I. That's the last thing I want. Do you think I enjoy bad copying them? But this is what we signed up for. We are their parents. We are not their best friends. Now that you're 24 and you're almost 25, were you aware of that kind of push and pull that was going on when you were a kid? And are you better or worse for it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. Like, Dodger Jano is the sweetest woman you'll ever meet. And young Jim had some fire to him. And not saying that you don't now, but, it was definitely kind of a yin and yang situation in the household. And I think, when you're a kid and you have a pops that works the hours he does for the show he does every single day, you don't quite get that. I knew you're on TV, but I didn't really watch your show when I was 9 years old. Sorry about that. I heard it was pretty good. But uh, it was hard to kind of grasp all that it took to be Jim Rome, So I understand it now, and I'm really grateful, being that, I want to make a career in this industry for myself. That you never really, just tossed me some kind of internship or just kind of let me have things or get away with things, because I think it was a better representation of how to do it. And I mean, look, you got into this industry yourself. We're not a nepotism child. I can't really say that for myself. I'm grateful that I've had your experience and your expertise, and you've helped guide me, into this industry, which has been fantastic. And then Mama, on the other hand, has taught Logan and I how to, be compassionate people and social and all these other great parts of being a human being.
Okay, well, let's see. Now, the truth is, you were not that Nepo kid, because you, for a long time, were like, I don't want people to know who my dad is. I want to do this on my own merit. And I always respected that, and I always understood that. And I want to double back to that in a minute. But this whole notion of you, like you said, I knew you were on ESPN, but no offense, Pop, I never really watched. And I never pushed that on you. And I was kind of locked into that. And I wanted to make sure that I was available as much as I could. But at the same time, I was never that 9-to-5 person, because I was never really built for that or wired for that, but I wanted to make sure that I never missed any of the really, really important things. Now, what's interesting to me, Jake, is because of what I did, I never pushed sports on you boys. And because of what I did for a living, but I thought that it was important that you did do something, because it was important because of the lessons you learned from sports. And I wanted you to get the hell out of the house, and I didn't want you to be gaming all the time, so you had to do something. So both you and Logan played baseball. Now, to be very honest, don't take this the wrong way, it's actually a compliment. You were not a supremely gifted, pure athlete. However, you went after it. You went after it. You had that grind. You were an incredible teammate, and you always battled. I'm curious, as you look back now, what did baseball and weight training and nutrition and commitment ultimately do for you?
It's a great question. And I mean, I don't take it personally at all. I was a pretty mid baseball player. I was definitely a sub 250 batting average through high school. But all of that training, and I think this is where you and I are similar, is, I always had to work. I had to work harder than, you know, people around me. If you look back in high school, I mean, I was in the gym all the time. I wasn't the best player by any means, but anyone that played with me knew how badly I wanted to compete and play and try to be the best player I could be. And it's like how a lot of D1 athletes go on to do great things, even if they don't play professional sports. They learn that serious commitment and drive you kind of need to do things. And I didn't even make it that far per se. I just play men's league baseball and have some beers on Sunday afterwards now. But I think through those formative times and really trying to make it D1 or grinding in the gym has really kind of set me up an understanding that you have to work for things if you want to get anything in life. Things aren't just handed to you.
Oh no, you worked really, really hard. The thing about baseball is you don't need to be a great, great pure athlete. You can make yourself a great baseball player, and you were all in and you were committed. The problem was you played for a high school that was going through head coaches every single year. There was not continuity, there was not consistency, there wasn't a great tradition. Yet despite that fact, and I say you weren't the purest athlete, you did make varsity as a sophomore. You played center field where you have to have a certain level of athleticism, and you played a great center field, frankly. By your senior year, there was yet another coach, and this guy loved you. This guy pulled you aside, the coach, and he said, man, you are my guy. You're going to bat leadoff. You're going to be my center fielder. You're going to be my captain. You are the dude. And man, I was so proud. I was so proud because you had worked so hard for so long to earn that, and then your response was, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I really don't want to play. And you sat mom and I down and said, I really don't want to do this anymore. And then you went to the coach man to man and said, Coach, I really appreciate it, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. And then you walked off. So right when it was going to pay off, you walked off. What happened? Why did you make that choice?
Oh, Pops, it was like a bad breakup. I mean, the whole thing was just crazy. I always had a love for film, and baseball. Those were my two things. And after I dedicated practically my whole adolescent life to baseball with 4 coaches in 4 years, I wasn't getting looks coming out of my junior year. It felt like, maybe this isn't the right path for me. Maybe in my senior year, I take film more seriously and see if I could, develop these skills. So I think it was the second or third day of summer camp for baseball going into my senior year. I was strategic. I pulled up to practice in jeans and a t-shirt. And I told my coach, I need to talk to you. I'm really sorry about this. I know you're kind of counting on me to be, some guy for this team, but I can't do it. And it felt like a stage of denial. And he was a great guy. I mean, he was a great coach, but he was like, why don't you just stay for the lift? Why don't you just come to the lift today and see, if you feel different? I'm like, Coach, I'm not going to squat in my denim. This is, I showed up like this for a reason. I'm sorry. It's not you, it's me. So that's kind of how I handled that. And I do regret it a bit because I do think your senior year playing sports is probably as fun as it gets in high school, especially if you don't play past that. But I don't fully regret it because, I started picking up the skills that I'm passionate about today and use in my everyday life. And again, I have more fun playing men's league, beer league baseball today than I did through any point in that career back then.
No, I'm going to go back to that in a minute. I don't know. I remember it a little bit differently. I think that, listen, full disclosure, I was disappointed because we loved watching you play. We loved watching you play, and you worked so hard, and it was your time. But at the same time, I was extremely proud of your decision because you did it the right way. I don't think that you should regret or feel badly about not playing your senior year. Dude, you were over it. You were over it. I think you were burned out. I think that you want to be a great teammate. The agenda was not right. People weren't on the same page. Like, your best year of baseball was your freshman year because you all loved each other. And, frankly, sometimes you squeezed it a little bit too tight. Your freshman year, man, you were unbelievable because you were in the gym and you always expected good things to happen when you got to the yard. But then you kind of started to overthink it, and you did love film. And you had that great senior year, and it did set you up. And I am going to double back to how you fell out of love with baseball, but then fell back in love with baseball. But I want to mention Logs. I want to mention Logs for a minute. Sidebar. You and Logan are about 3.5 years apart. And when you first grew up, my feeling was I didn't know any better because I just, I'd not been around a lot of kids. I just assumed that you'd beat the hell out of each other. I thought that's what brothers did. I thought you'd beat the hell out of each other, but it's the furthest thing from the truth, man. Nothing but love. Like, he always looked up to you, and you always loved him and always made time for him. How would you describe Logs? Because the beauty is you're really different, as siblings are, but how would you describe your brother?
Where do you start with Rogan Loam? And I mean, ask the clones. Anytime you post anything on social media with him, every comment's war, Rogan Loam, war. I mean, the kid's like a unicorn. And I will say, we had our time, when he was younger, we butted heads a little bit and we'd fight here and there. But the issue was, he was a stick. So it's not like we really fought because it didn't last all that long with, 3.5 years. But I love the kid.
Until he towered all of us.
Yep. Oh yeah, we're all shorter than him now. It's crazy.
But go ahead.
He's just a fantastic kid. I mean, his charisma, you could see it. He was on your program. I think everyone could see, why he's Rogan Loam. And he's just got such a good heart. You can never have a bad conversation, a bad time with him. When you spend time with the kid, you just know you're in good company.
Now, there's something different about Logs. Logs does not try hard. Logs is just cool. Logs is cool. Logs, you're a combination of mom and I. Like, you've got my grit, but you got mom's personality. And then Logan, I don't know where Logan fits into all of it. Logan's just his own dude, man. He is his own dude, but he's absolutely awesome. So then you mentioned mom. So I've always said that I married the best person I've ever met to this day. I stand by that. How would you describe your mother? For instance, Jake, never mind growing up Jim Rome's kid. What was it like to grow up Janet Rome's kid?
I've met multiple people that go, "Oh, you're Janet's son? I love Janet. She's the best." And I've had maybe just as many people say that as they do to you. I mean, Mama is kind of a legend in her own right because, again, she's genuinely the sweetest human being you will ever meet ever. And I know most people will say that about their own mom, but I mean, I've never met a single person that's had anything bad to say about Dodger Jano. I mean, truly the most compassionate person, taught Logan and I how to be good people. I couldn't say a single bad thing. She is an angel on earth.
No, I mean, I said that. Look, when we got married, I did my speech in front of everybody. I said she absolutely is an angel on earth. Mom is an angel on earth. And remember, let's never forget, for those, and I'm told the story, and you know this, and I think a lot of the viewers and listeners know this, but when I met Mom was way more successful than me. Mom made way more money than me. Mom had a thriving career, which she loved, and she was so good at, but that's not what Mom wanted. Mom wanted to be a mom. Mom wanted to be at home to raise you kids and be involved in absolutely every aspect of your life. So as proud as I am of you boys, and you have a lot to do with who you are and what you are, you probably wouldn't be what you are without Mom because she was so involved and in the best way imaginable.
Absolutely. I mean, everything she did was for us. And I couldn't even imagine. I mean, if she kept working and we weren't in the picture, she'd be the VP of so she'd probably still be your boss.
Yes, exactly. She probably would still be my boss. She probably would still be my boss. But not only was she in the picture, she was involved in absolutely everything. So there's nobody like Mom. So Jake, when it came time to pick a college, you ended up leaving the state. How much of that was the need to bust out and find yourself and be your own person? And then frankly, how much of that was the fact that California schools just were not taking California kids? What was the mindset?
Well, it was a little bit of both. And I wanted to go to school for journalism. The UC system, to what I looked at,
but not sports. You were not thinking sports.
No. I like current events and kind of stuff like that. I was in the school paper in high school and such. And, I was looking at different programs outside because the UCs weren't the strongest per se. And, especially being in current events or, politics, things like that, I wanted to escape the bubble because Irvine is the bubble within the Orange County bubble within California bubble. So I wanted to just get out and see the country. And we toured UW-Madison, and we toured when it wasn't negative 20 degrees
No,
and
no, but
icy.
but but I have to interrupt. You toured a lot of places. You toured a lot of places, and you liked a lot of what you saw, and you didn't like some of what you saw. But for some reason, this was not first on the list. And I finally kept pushing. I'm like, look, I know a lot. Okay, I said two things. Because you were not a big sports kid growing up other than baseball, I said it's very important to go to a school with a major power conference because you want to experience the teams. I'm telling you, it will impact the way you go to college. It's not the only thing, but it's a really important thing and a really social aspect. And Wisconsin was that. And number two, I'd met so many people that went to Wisconsin, and the very next person who said it was not the greatest time of their lives would have been the first. Please, please, please go to Madison. And you and mom are doing all the tours, and I was working. So when you dropped down in Madison, what was it like when you hit that town and you hit that campus?
Oh, it's just gorgeous. I mean, if you've never been, you're on an isthmus, you're between two lakes. Campus goes, there's a big hill called Bascom Hill that if you hike up it, you can see right down the middle to the Capitol. There's no town like it. I mean, you kind of get infatuated with it. And like you said, I went and toured schools on the East Coast in DC, a handful in California. And it's just a really, really unique, special place. It's actually the top three public university according to Time Magazine as of this year now too. So it's huge for our school, and I wouldn't go anywhere else. I mean, just most well-rounded experience ever.
It's an amazing school. And then here's the difference, though, Jake. You've never been away from home, and then you went a long way from home, and we're Southern California. All right, we only know a certain way and a certain element, and all of a sudden you're the kid from Southern California in the harsh winter and elements of Wisconsin, and you are far away from home. So what was that first year like?
Cold as hell, man.
You know it.
It's cold, but I mean, it was fine. I got a jacket. I had tough enough skin where I wanted to embrace that, and it was just fun. I am very open minded to things like this and wanting to have new experiences. And I met a bunch of people from Chicago and Minneapolis and the East Coast, and they're all used to it. I'm not going to be the Californian that couldn't. I'm going to stay out, go to the bars once I turn 21, and do all these other things. It was awesome experiencing different seasons and just kind of gaining a level of grit, from being around just a completely different culture and having to adjust to a different way of life.
And what's interesting is you came to that on your own. I didn't say that to you. I did not say, you need to get out. You need to get out, and you need to develop a certain toughness, a certain thick skin. Like, I was proud of you. You figured that out on your own. Now, let me ask you this. We love the Midwest. We've come to know the Midwest. We have a home in the Midwest. You still live in the Midwest. Some of the best people ever in the Midwest. However, there's always a rap against California, man. No matter where you are, they feel a certain way about us. How did the students there initially, and I'm not saying all of them, but initially, how did they treat you when they found out you were from Cali?
Oh, that's a great question. It kind of depended on where the other kids were from. I mean, a lot of Wisconsinites were not super pleased with that information, but I'm a happy enough, chipper enough guy that I'd, have a drink or two with them. We'd get to chatting, and they're like, "Oh wow, you're not bad for a Californian." I'm like, "Dude, you don't know anything." Like, this.
You're not bad for a Californian. What is that, a compliment?
I'm saying it's like, I guess I'm pretty cool despite being a Californian, but it depended. All the Chicago
Jake, what'd you do
friends.
with that? Did you push back, or did you just kind of let that slide?
It was fun. It depended on the dude. It depended, 2 o'clock in a bar.
Depended
Was
on the
it
dude.
9 o'clock at a pregame? But a lot of the times, I tried to more just being kind about it because a lot of people just don't know any better. I mean, California gets a bad rap, and it's the best place ever. So, I mean, I'm just trying to tell people, like, a lot of things you might think about it aren't true. There's a lot of stereotypes, or, it's a massive state. Not every one person is like this. And I think through just being friendly, there's a thing called Midwest nice out here, where it's just people being chatty with each other and sociable and forthcoming. And I think that being in my nature disarmed a lot of people. And now today, when I'm out in the field working or I meet new people, people don't know I'm from California or are surprised. They're like, "Oh, you just seem like such a good Wisconsin boy."
How funny is that? That's amazing, actually.
And it's sweet. It's endearing because I think people, feel comfortable and they feel that I am a chatty, nice person. And I don't know. feel I've always been like this. It comes from Dodger Jano, and
It
that's why
is.
I think
It is. It comes from DJ. It comes from DJ. So let me ask you this. I mean, the money thing is a real thing for a lot of people. Aside from dinging my bank account, how much better are you for having left the state to go to school?
I think a lot better. For me personally, I think if you grew up in California and went to UCLA or UCSB, stayed by family and lived your whole life, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the best place in the world. But, for me, wanting to gain a new perspective and kind of, especially because I like current events and politics, and, I'm very invested in what America kind of looks like and feels like. I needed to get out of the bubble. I mean, if you live in Orange County your whole life, you don't know what real life looks like. And I think that was just as valuable as my education, in journalism school, was just being around other people from other walks of life. Cause it's very different than Irvine, you know what I mean? With the life you gave me, especially, it was very different from that. So it was, I think, an incredible experience that I wouldn't have traded up. And I think the Midwest is just a fantastic portion of the country that, a lot of people would love to visit and learn from.
See, the best thing I'm most proud of is like the humility and the how humble you boys both are. The big house on the hill did not wreck you, but I think part of that was me bad copping and disciplining you, and part of that was mom saying appreciate, 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 appreciate. There's a reason why we have the big house on the hill. There's a reason why. It's because dad works so hard, and we constantly were hammering into you kids. You got to be a certain way. You got to be a certain way. You have to respect. You have to know your last name. You have to treat people well. So you got that message, and it worked, and it landed with both of you. Let me ask you this. What do you remember about graduation when I was the keynote speaker for your class? Because I'm going to tell you what I remember. I personally remember looking out and seeing a bunch of kids who were either drunk or high or looking to get drunk or high, who had no idea who I was, but all their parents did, and they were pumped. They were pumped to meet me. They were pumped to hear my message that I was pumping out on the kids, and the kids had no idea who I was. What do you remember about that day? And were you either drunk or high while I was out there on the podium?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one, but I will say that whole week, I mean, it's graduation week. I have finals, we were drinking nonstop that whole time. And I remember that was probably the fattest I've ever been, and definitely the most tired I've ever been up to graduation in this final push. And it was just so surreal. I mean, how many people get to say that their dad was the keynote speaker at their own graduation? I mean, it's a ineffable thing. How do you explain, one, how weird it is? It's like I'm looking around and I'm like, a lot of people don't know me or know that that's my dad. And I'm just sitting here like, what up, pops? We're going to go have a beer and like a slice of pizza after this. And it was just so special, And I think the message obviously resonated with me because I feel like, in a sense, you were kind of giving the speech to me. And I've heard a lot of the things that you kind of include in it about, being gritty and not giving up in this space and, keep working hard, make a difference in your generation. And it really just was a surreal feeling, being that I was a little drunk and that you were standing up there in front of me, seeing me make it past my bachelor's and into the world. And I don't know, that's something I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
That's sweet. That's sweet. You know, it's amazing too. You can imagine mom. Mom was like, holy crap, our son is graduating and my husband's doing the keynote. So for mama, who gets emotional about everything anyway, that was one of her top dates and top moments ever. I'm going to tell you, I want to share something with you right now. And you know this, but we've had this great realization. Like, for a long time, you did not want anybody to know that you were my kid, for the reason I mentioned, because you wanted to make it on your own merit, which I totally respected. But then as you started to come up and you started to learn, then you wanted to let me know how it was. Like, I know a lot. I know everything, like any young person. And I would kind of be like, you know what? You're not ready for a seat at the table yet. You're just not. But then you kept working and you kept working and you started to accomplish things. And then all of a sudden we realized we could both meet each other where we are. So there are still things that I know that you don't know, but I know there are things that you know that I don't know. And now we can talk business. Like, how awesome is that? And how much fun do you and I have chopping it up, comparing notes, and helping each other and teaching each other things that we both don't know?
It's incredible. I mean, and we've talked about it so many times. The conversation for years, from my perspective, was, what am I going to do to figure it out? How can I learn these things? How can I get in this space? And, you trying to help guide me and push me into places where I could learn and do all that. And me being optimistic, saying, like, I'll get to that point and, we'll be having talks like this, or I could be successful like you. And you're like, we'll see about that, Jake. I'm rooting for you, but you never know. And, you know, I love my job. I'm so grateful to have been able to produce, direct, write a bunch of stuff. We're in a top 40 market, I believe. It's a medium-sized market in the US, and it's incredible, but I still feel like I have a lot to learn. And that's what's so nice about our chats when I come home. Pour a little tequila, sit outside by the pool, and just start brainstorming and seeing, where are the gaps? Where could we help each other out? Because, it's all about reinvention. And I mean, I know you want to keep working probably till the day you drop, and I think I'm wired the same way. So it's nice to have a partner in that.
It's one of my favorite things. I love it. I love it. I used to think you saw your mother and I on the weekends. You know me, I never drank during the week because I always worked. But then you would see me have a cocktail on the weekends, and I used to always say to myself, man, I can't wait till these kids are old enough to have a cocktail with me. That's gonna be the best thing ever because they're such great kids. And now you are old enough to have a cocktail with me, but we're old enough to have a cocktail and talk business. And that's really good. And I respect you and I admire you and I care what you have to think or have to say because I know that you know things that I don't know. And then you also don't act like you know everything and you still pick my brain. And it's really, really neat. So lay it out for those who do not know exactly what do you do now?
Yeah, so my official job, I'm a video producer for a company called Discover Media Works. We're based in Madison, Wisconsin. We do branded programs, so we do broadcast episodes of television, excuse me, called Discover Wisconsin. We have a program called Uniquely Wisconsin. Those are more digital shorts, kind of like an Ira Glass style, human interest stories, and a handful of corporate spots, shorts, all of that. So a good mix of episodes, shorts, all of that I do every single day, every week, every month.
Awesome. I love it. So, Jake, I did something that you will probably never do in your career. I made it into the Radio Hall of Fame. You, on the other hand, have done something already that I have never done in my career and may never do. You won an Emmy. I've never won an Emmy. You have already won an Emmy. What did you win it for? And then what was that experience like?
It was great. And I was part of a team that won a Midwest Chicago Emmy. I was a producer on a piece called Field of Dreams, the All American Girls Professional Baseball League's 80th reunion, which was the real life woman from a league of their own that were Wisconsin based that played for the Kenosha Comets back in the day, having their reunion in Wisconsin to commemorate the Team USA women's team starting back up now. So we won in the nostalgia category for short or long form content back in 2024. We have a digital short that you can find on YouTube or Facebook, and it kind of covers these ladies' stories, playing in that league that the movie was based on, which was surreal to me because it's still one of my favorite pieces to this day. And combining my love for baseball and film, and then, being lucky enough to be included on the team and win an award like that is just absolutely surreal.
So proud of you. So awesome that you have that. All right, so we talked about how you actually you played baseball your whole life. You played travel league ball. You played high school baseball. It was kind of a tough thing. You kind of burned out, and you're not the only one. It happens to people. You fell out of love with the game. How did you fall back in love with the game?
Well, it was funny. I just wanted to play beer league softball after I graduated. I was looking for something to do with my time, and the softball league just burned me. They never responded to my email. And I tried following up. I'm like, hey, I called a guy one time. I'm like, I want to play softball. I'm in the free agency. Like, can a team pick me up? And the guy was kind of snarky about it. He's like, we don't have openings. Like, stop calling me. So from there, I found the Men's Adult Baseball League of Southern Wisconsin page, and they had an open tryout. So I was like, all right, well, I want to do something. I want to get back into sports. I'll try out for this baseball league, and went to an indoor facility. There
I
were
mean,
about
fast pitch hardball, right?
fast pitch hardball. Yeah. And it's not like an amateur league competitive, but I mean, on our team, we have guys that play D2, D3, handful of pitchers. In the summertime, we have kids that are actively playing in college, D2, D3 level. And it some of the most fun I've had in my entire life. I mean, just playing with guys that just love the game and love each other, it's so much fun.
All right. So, what are the demographics like on that team?
Our youngest that we play with is 18 or 19, and our oldest is 45.
Wow. All right. So, different guys, different walks of life. When you tried out, how about the manager of this team? What did he say to you, and what was your tryout like? What do you remember?
Well, I'd love to give a shout out to my drunk uncle Paul Hendrickson. He is a sight to behold. He's got some thick sideburns, some Dahmer style glasses, just a true Wisconsinite through and through, but heart
Did
of
you say
gold.
Dahmer style glasses?
Did, yeah, I did. I'll try to find a photo for you. But he just loves baseball. He's been in the Madison Adult Baseball League longer than I've been alive. I think this past year is his 25th year. He is constantly scouting the player pool throughout the whole season to find talent. And, I have some good rounds in the cages. I'm feeling pretty good. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, are you Jake Rome?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is Jim Rome your dad?" And I'm like, "Who are you? How do you know this?" And he was like, "Oh, I figured I saw your name on the player pool and I did my homework." And I'm like, "Okay, there's this kind of creepy looking guy who knows me and my dad. And all right, whatever, if I end up on his team, I guess that's cool." And sure enough, I end up on his team. He texts me 24, 48 hours later and was like, "Welcome to the Madison Muskies. You're going to be in the outfield for us." And I'm talking junk on him, but he's one of my favorite people ever. I mean, he's really welcomed me into the team and he cares deeply about the team, the sport, the community. And we just won our championship this past season.
It's amazing. So he actually, tell me I'm wrong, but he loves ball so much it probably sparks something in you, right? Seeing how much passion and how much love, how much he still loves the game after all these years.
And for the right reasons. I mean, it's just a spark. The way this is his quote, not mine, but he says, "I'm a drinker with a baseball problem." And it's true. I mean, this is a guy that will sneak out to play baseball. This is a guy that, is fighting to play every single day of the week. There are days where he'll go hit into the bow net in the backyard after a game on a Sunday because he just loves it that much and wants to play until he physically can't anymore. And, that's what it's about. Like, I love, that kind of energy.
All right, so you're working really hard at what you do. However, you saw an opportunity with this team. Are you not making a documentary about that season? And tell me all about it. What's it called? Where does it stand?
Yes. So it's called Men's League, aptly put. And it's basically just covering how eccentric this whole team is. We have 18-year-olds, we have 45-year-olds, we have ER surgeons, we have journalists, we have electricians, students. It's people from all walks of life, all beliefs, all characteristics that just love the game and each other so much. And it kind of follows just all of us navigating through life, loss, hardships, as we're trying to avenge our championship loss from last year. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, even though I kind of said it a minute ago, but you'll kind of watch and see us grind to win back the championship after we should have won it in the years past. And right now we're in post-production. We have about 75 minutes of it cut. We're just finishing up the final scenes and we should be done with it in the next couple of months. And we're looking to do some festival circuits, towards the end of 2026 and into 2027. So.
All right, so you beat me to that. I was going to say, when will it be done? And then what is the hope? And what do you do with it? Ultimately, what's the home run? Explain the business. What do you do with that? Are you in movie theaters? Are you in festivals? What happens with it?
So we're indie. It's me and a co-director started our production company, Hardball Productions LLC. We put in a little bit of our own money and pretty much I borrowed any friends I have in the industry and their cameras that we could to make a feature-length documentary. So the hope is submit it to as many festivals as we can, network, see if I can meet people that work for bigger festivals like the Sundances, like the South by Southwest, and see if we can make it into those places. Because, you need to make it through some festivals. You need to win some awards. So you get the nice little logos you can put on your poster. And, best case scenario, if we made something good enough, I'd love to try to shop it around to somewhere. But, we want to get into festivals first. We want to see if people like the story and we'll pick it up. And best case scenario, we sell it. Worst case scenario, we put it online for people to enjoy.
Jake, let's talk hustle for a minute really quickly. So when do you do this? When do you work on this? When do you find the time? You have a full-time job. I think there's a message in this for young people and something that I tried to hammer home to you for a long, long time. How is this thing getting done given the schedule and the life you have?
At nights, on weekends, there have been a couple of times I'll take PTO to have full weekdays, backed up onto a weekend to edit this. Um, I'm grateful to my girlfriend. Sometimes I'll work Saturdays, Sundays nonstop, and I don't see her because I'm working on this, editing this documentary because I'm cutting a lot of it myself. And it's just one of those things where I'm so passionate about it because I think the stories of the players we're telling are so relatable and they're funny and they're great. And it's a story that's very salient to today. And I just have to get it done, So I find any time I possibly can to work on this outside of work or trying to go to the gym because it's just where my heart is. And I'm hoping that, it could help spark my career and take me to different heights.
And then you went to Facebook Marketplace and you priced out some equipment and you bought some equipment. So you have that. So that's a thing. Because you mentioned Jane, I will do my job and I will follow up and ask you. Jane is a super gal. What can you tell the viewers and listeners about Jane and what is she doing now?
Oh, she's brilliant. I mean, I love her. We've been together 5 years now. She's in her second semester of her PhD. She's getting her PhD in biology, plant breeding, and genetics. And she's trying to save the world, man. I mean, she's trying to bioengineer corn so cows fart less and they can eat less of it. And it's like, I can't do that. I know how to press a button and edit a video and tell a good story, but she's doing the real work. So she's putting the grind in. She's an amazing partner, an amazing friend. And I'm really lucky, like you at Dodger Jano, to have, a great woman in my life.
I did hammer that home early on, didn't I? Pick the right partner. Yeah. Pick the right partner. And by the way, to say this about Jane, if I'm not mistaken, I think that the university is paying for that. I think she's that gifted, right? She's that talented.
She, worked for a lab and was in a great situation, but yes, they give her a stipend. This is something that can sometimes happen, but she's not paying a dime for her PhD. And it's just so impressive. It's like, my gosh, I'd be lucky if I could pay enough to get my PhD.
But by the way, dude, you have done an amazing job. You take care of yourself. You pay your own bills. You do your own thing. You're not coming to Janet and I. You've got a great value of money. You guys have never asked for anything, any shiny things. You do it the right way. Leave me with this, though. I think this is interesting. Your brother should probably hear this, and I'm not cracking on Logs. Logs just doesn't kind of sweat the stuff that we do. But, man, there's so many people coming out of college, and there's so many fears and so many concerns, and the job market is just absolutely so fierce, and then you have AI, and we're trying to figure out if somebody listening or watching right now is in that position, or somebody's parents are hearing this, and they want to have a conversation with their kids. You're 24 now, you're almost 25, you went through this, you got a job. What advice do you have for somebody who's getting out, who wants to get a job? Because it is so hard to find work.
I mean, it's hard, it's not a great time for employment in any field. So I think that's the part of it is, places aren't hiring. It's an interesting market. So that's going to be part of the issue. But the other thing is you just need to send your application out everywhere. I mean, you need to send applications to hundreds of places if you want to get 5 or 10 responses. I think you also need to be okay with doing something that might not be exactly what you want to start out, stay open-minded, have multiple ideas of what you can do with your education, with your skill set, with your time. And I think be okay with not hearing back for a little bit. The one thing I'll say, and I got this from you and from some other people, don't go through LinkedIn, or Indeed, these online platforms. I think they can lead you to some jobs and such, but if you want to stand out from people, you really have to be old school and pick up the phone, find an email address and really just hammer away and make it be clear. I want information. I want to talk to a person. I want to put my name in the hat. Like, you need to do these things and let your voice be heard and your face be seen. You got to speak up if you want to eat. And when you're sending an application through LinkedIn, you're just another number in the system. So, any way to be seen and heard, put yourself out there as much as possible. And you just got to get lucky because things are kind of tough right now.
No, nailed it. No one's coming to save you. We talk about this all the time on the Reinvention Project. And the fact of the matter is, the way you show up in LinkedIn, and look, there is a value to these things, but you're not showing up there the way you're showing up here right now. There's no doubt about that. So leave me with this thought, Jake. The company you work for right now has been very, very good to you. You're very, very good about being where your feet are. You are focused. You are intentional. Pull back a little bit. Hopes and dreams, like what do you want to do? What is the big goal? What is the big play? Where do you want to end up?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had a fantastic 3 years with this company, and it's a great place to be. I love the projects I'm doing, the work I have. I am very happy with what I'm doing in this moment. But big picture, I've always wanted to move to New York. I've always wanted to live in the city.
Your
I would live
mom's
in.
not going to like that, yo.
Yeah, I've floated the idea hypothetically, and she's not she's not a huge fan of that one, but I love the energy. The city's fantastic. I think it's such a great place for creatives, for just anyone that loves to hustle. So I'd love to try that, sooner than later, go out, try to be a documentarian, make my own films, sell my own films, maybe try to apply back to jobs in journalism, try to make a program of my own with how, social media is exploding and how networks are shifting around. There might be space to try to do something like you, maybe just more in politics or current events. So I don't know quite yet. Like you said, my feet are here. I like these programs, but definitely sooner than later, I could see myself trying to make it out to the East Coast.
Attaboy. So, well, episode number 400 was a big one. And as I mentioned at the very top, you haven't heard the pre-pro, but as I mentioned at the very top, I thought about this long and hard. Who do I want to talk to? Do I want to talk to an athlete that I've already spoken to? Do I want to find an athlete that I haven't spoken to that I'd like to connect with? Or do I want to find something deeply, deeply personal? And that's what I opted to do. Jake, I love you very much. I'm proud of you. Your mother's proud of you. Your brother's proud of you. You're a great brother. You're a great son. You're a great employee. Couldn't ask for any more, man. I love you very much. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Pops. I love you too. And I mean, seriously, it's the honor of a lifetime to be here for the 400. And I'm really proud of you, man. I mean, decades in the industry, you're kicking butt. It's sweet to see. And, I'm excited to have more chats like this just with a drink in hand sometime soon.
All right, you got it. Love you.